Shabbat Shalom and welcome everyone. As we settle in, page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom and welcome. Welcome to those of you who are gathered here in person in our sanctuary. Welcome to those of you who are joining us online, whether it's your first time or your 100th time or somewhere in between. We want to extend a very special word of welcome to Sadie Markowitz and her family. Sadie is this Shabbat's bat mitzvah and will be called to the Torah tomorrow morning, and we just can't wait to celebrate with you and are so proud of your journey tonight. So welcome to the Markowitz family. I'd like to welcome all of our children, all of our elders, at least one amazing graduate who are celebrating tonight from college, and welcome to those of you who have come here to find peace and community after a stressful or a lonely week. May this Shabbat be a gateway to each and every one of you for a more restful and reflective place. Tonight, as you know, is also a very special Shabbat because we are celebrating our 10th grade students as they complete their formal religious school journey here at Touro. Many of them began that journey over 10 years ago, and some even longer. In Reformed tradition, the marking of this moment of completion of a formal religious education in a synagogue is called confirmation. It is a custom that goes back to the beginning years of the 19th century, and it is the first fully egalitarian Jewish life cycle ritual in the world. It has evolved today from those early years of our first reformers into a wonderful celebration for young adults as they begin to confirm not what they believe, but that they do believe that their Jewishness is central to their lives and that they intend to keep it close and wrestle with it throughout their adulthood. During tonight's Shabbat service, which our confirmands will lead, we will hear many of their original thoughts and reflections on that journey. Our classes together began in earnest just after October 7th, right after the high holidays were over. And so our studies have deeply focused on understanding Jewish tradition and Jewishness in this post-October 7th world, as you will hear, a world different from the one any of us knew before. These reflections, which they were invited to prepare either in written form that they might read from the Bima or in artistic form, are all contained in the booklet that you received when you came in. And many of their words, their honest and very Jewish wrestling at this precise moment in time, we will hear from the Bima tonight. I am proud of our students for their integrity and their vulnerability as they share their struggles, convictions, questions, and yearnings with all of us. We will hear how different they all are from each other and also how much they have in common as a generous, passionate group of young leaders. It's been a pleasure and honor to learn with all of them this year, and at this time, it is a joy to welcome them into the sanctuary, led by class member Lily Arjman, who bears the Torah scroll in her arms, and accompanied by the music of another class member, Lily Pollock, here at the piano. Please rise as our confirmation class of 2024 enters the sanctuary and comes to the Bima. Thank you. You may be seated. It's now a pleasure to enter into our Shabbat prayers. And to do so, I'd like to invite Lily Arjman forward to share a prayer that will guide us and form an intention for us. And then Katie Gershanik will share her original reflections on our learnings this year. We begin on page 6.
Sorry. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Over the last several months, our class has explored many Jewish texts and ideas. Now that our confirmation class journey has come to an end, we've been tasked to create a reflection project. This project is intended to encourage us to think about the journey we have taken this year and how the key Jewish concepts we have learned connect to our life. We were also tasked to reflect upon it using the prompt. As a Jewish young adult coming of age in a post-October 7th world, this text or idea helps me become more thoughtful in my Judaism because, as I got to thinking about this prompt and our time in confirmation class, I realized I knew exactly which text spoke to me and that I wanted to reflect on. Dara Horn's article, Is Holocaust Education Making Anti-Semitism Worse? In the article, Horn highlights the difference between what is learned about the Holocaust and what is known about Jewish life today. This means that many non-Jewish students are not taught and thus don't really understand what it means to be Jewish. This can also be tied to the widespread anti-Semitism that we have seen throughout 2023 to 2024, and helps explain why many non-Jewish students seem unable to recognize such anti-Semitism. To put it simply, many non-Jewish students who study the Holocaust only see Jews as a victim of a horrific genocide and fail to further their understanding of other Jewish life, both in the past and present. Dara Horn explains, one problem with using the Holocaust as a morality play is exactly its appeal. It flatters everyone. We can all congratulate ourselves for not committing mass murder. This approach excuses current anti-Semitism by defining anti-Semitism as genocide in the past. When anti-Semitism is reduced to the Holocaust, anything short of murdering 6 million Jews, like, say, ramming someone with a shopping cart or taunting kids at school, or shooting up a Jewish nonprofit, or hounding Jews out of entire countries, seems minor by comparison. This got me thinking. While of course it's a good thing to learn about and remember the Holocaust, Horn is correct in her argument that many people unconsciously use the Holocaust as a way to overlook their smaller, more subtle acts of hate against the Jewish community. Perhaps shifting such a view on the Jewish community could lead to improvements. It is clear that combating anti-Semitism requires a multifaceted approach, one that goes beyond just looking at history and instead explores the shared history and heritage between Jews and non-Jews. Anti-Semitism must be addressed by acknowledging its nuances and less obvious forms, rather than reducing it to a single definition. Education and understanding can help reduce anti-Semitism by highlighting common history and heritage between Jews and non-Jews, rather than viewing them as a separate and distinct group. Take Jesus, for example. He's like a big deal in Christianity, right? But guess what? He was Jewish, and Judaism has been around for way longer than most religions. So instead of teaching people what they shouldn't do, teach them what they have in common, so they are not as likely to look at Jews as the other. For example, there have been few instances where my non-Jewish peers have made anti-Semitic comments. One of these comments deeply unsettled me and took me a long time to grapple with. As I think back on the incident, it becomes apparent that the individual who made the comment likely perceived it as harmless or humorous. This both angered and shocked me. I was surprised that someone, especially someone from an educated and privileged background, whom I had a relationship with, would say something so insensitive for the sake of amusement of others. However, I dealt with this by not letting it define my identity as a Jew and thinking about the positives of Jewish life. It's crucial to recognize that Jewish identity extends far beyond the tragic events of the Holocaust. My sense of belonging within the Jewish community and the cherished memories from camp keep me hopeful about my Jewish future. By highlighting these vibrant aspects, we embrace the richness of Jewish life and transcend the limitations of stereotypes and insensitive behavior. Moreover, I find parallels between Horn's discussion and the challenges faced by the Jewish community in a post-October 7th world. While there are many reasons to feel afraid for our safety right now as a Jewish community, I think it's important to not let that fear overshadow the richness and joy of being Jewish. Although October 7th serves as a reminder of the challenges we face as a Jewish community, it also serves as an opportunity to stand together in the fight against oppression. Judaism is so unique and our past is so complex. Despite facing adversity and being used as scapegoats, our resilience as a community shines through. It's important to remember our ability to overcome challenges and hold on to the values that define us as Jews. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. For our opening prayers, our opening blessings to start Shabbat, for candles and Kiddush, it's our pleasure to invite up tomorrow morning's Bat Mitzvah, Sadie Markowitz, along with her family. The blessings can be found on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all those who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Kiddush can be found on page 5. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lemaaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uveratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim. You can be seated.
Confirmation this year has been an experience for me like no other. I've gotten to spend time with other Jewish teens, some whom I go to school with, others who I've just met this year, and some that I haven't seen since pre-K at the JCC. We get to come together and share our thoughts about Jewish news around the world, as well as Jewish history. I have not only learned about my own faith, but also about what it means to be Jewish in a time like now, where our community is receiving hate. It seems that some of those who are hating don't even know what they are necessarily arguing for. Seems to me that anti-Semitism has become a popular trend people want to be a part of for their own reasons I cannot assume. Confirmation has become so important to me because of how much I'm learning and that I'm able to face the growing anti-Semitism with a knowledgeable mind thanks to Rabbi Bowman, Rabbi Silverman, and my peers. I'm comfortable with the knowledge I have learned to back up my own arguments. For example, there have been many times where I find my peers in confirmation, who I also go to school with, explaining to our non-Jewish classmates what is going on in Israel and the war itself. Although what happened on October 7th was inhuman and anti-Semitism is nothing but hate, it is refreshing in a sense that my peers have picked up so much knowledge from our meetings, and I get to witness them teaching our non-Jewish peers as well. When thinking about what I wanted to speak about today, I thought back to my bat mitzvah and realized what an amazing opportunity I had to have been bat mitzvah this year at 16 and after the occurrence of October 7th, when all of our lives were changed, some more than others. Having my bat mitzvah about a month and a half after October 7th gave me time to reflect on what had happened and made me want to help our Jewish community in Israel more than ever. I had the opportunity to speak about a woman named Rose. On October 7th, Rose was guarding the gate of her kibbutz at Sod. She single-handedly protected her entire kibbutz and saved them all from the Hamas terrorists. She also saw a helicopter with 50 IDF soldiers that was shot down outside of the gate of her kibbutz, and she managed to save them. She got them shelter and brought them into her kibbutz away from the terrorists. Rose saved all 50 of them. She survived the Hamas attack on October 7th, but was murdered a week later. She sacrificed her life to save everyone around her. For my Sedek project, and with my peers' help, we were able to raise money to, hopefully soon because it's hard with the war going on, construct a rose garden in her honor by her kibbutz. Learning about Rose made me feel a deeper connection to my faith, as well as meeting with my peers at confirmation, specifically during the times during and after October 7th. Learning about a family friend's experience who I didn't get a chance to meet felt different than seeing what's on social media and the news. October 7th and the war itself is absolutely terrible, but with our community's strength, we will get through it. The Jewish community has gone through several instances of anti-Semitism and has gone through these many instances by sticking together. I believe that this confirmation class has contributed to the Jewish community sticking together, as we have met almost every Sunday to discuss the anti-Semitism we or our community has received from the occurrence of October 7th and anti-Semitism in general. Overall, confirmation has made me more comfortable speaking about anti-Semitism and October 7th because of the knowledge I've gained through my bat mitzvah this year. I'm forever grateful to have spent my Sundays throughout this year connecting with Rabbi Bowman, Rabbi Silverman, and my confirmation class. I'm very glad to have gained friendships with others who share my faith. While we have been challenged with horrific anti-Semitism, especially this year, which is reminiscent of the 1930s and years leading up to the Holocaust, while it is scary knowing this, it is comforting seeing my peers, like my confirmation class, and the Jewish club members at my school, standing up for the Jewish community and Israel. I'm glad to have support through a time when it's fearful to be Jewish, but more importantly, the strength within our community is more powerful than the hate and fear. We now join in L'cha Dodi, beginning on page 12.
Turn now to page 20 for L'cha Dodi. We welcome in the Shabbat bride, the spirit of a pause that is so hard to come by and so desperately needed. at the bottom of 21. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tohola, tochenu am segula.
You can be seated. It's the time of our service when we get to invite up those of you who are here with us in the sanctuary who are not yet to your B'nai Mitzvah. If you are not quite 12 or 13, even if you are getting pretty close, like tomorrow morning, we would like to invite all of you up to come on for your Shabbat blessing. As the end of the school year rolls around and the start of the summer, there's probably a lot of reflection on all the things that you've learned and all the ways you've grown and all the things you've accomplished and maybe even some of the things that you've fallen a bit short on. The best part about Shabbat is that we get to use it as a big, giant spiritual reset and take deep breaths so that when we return to next week and all the ordinariness, we can count our blessings again and maybe achieve a little bit more than we have.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha ken yehi ratzon Yair Adonai panav elecha Vichunecha Ken yehi ratzon Yisa Adonai panav elecha Ve'asem lecha shalom Ken yehi ratzon.
And if your little one is going to be joining the babysitting and childcare team, just make sure one of the adults goes and checks in with them so they know how to find you if they need you. Well, there you go. Where's Russ? Oh, there you are. Great. Our littlest ones have just descended. Sort of our medium ones are up here getting all of this confirming done. And there happens to be in the room two, but I didn't know you were home, so I'm going to catch you next week, Jack. One of our bigger ones, bigger Touro kids, who has their own achievements. So Russell, would you come on up and join me on the bima for a moment? I'm going to open the curtain to the ark. If everyone would, for just a moment, please rise. Russell, you and I have known each other since you were only 6 feet tall. I'm only kind of kidding. The first time we were ever up here on the bima together was your bar mitzvah, which was my first bar mitzvah here at Touro. And that was nearly 9 years ago. and also a lifetime and a half ago. And since then, and even long before then, you, my friend, have been a source of blessing, not only to your family, but to our congregational family too. You have returned to this synagogue and to this sanctuary in moments of unparalleled joy and accomplishment, like your confirmation a few years ago, your high school graduation, and also in moments that were anything but. And you were celebrated so fiercely in each of those moments because Touro is one of your homes, and because you're ours, and because we're yours. And now there's another milestone, tomorrow morning, right? You graduate from college, Mazel Tov. Even just saying that feels a little bit unbelievable, and I suspect your parents are feeling that way too. But I can promise you that our amazement only comes partially from how quickly everything has passed. The rest is because you just happen to be amazing. Hearts fill up with happiness and pride when they encounter you, your intellect and your love and your kindness and your decency and all of these faces you're making. You continue to be a blessing to us, your family. And to paraphrase an old Jewish saying, bracha goreret bracha, one blessing leads to and inspires another blessing. So here's yours. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'choneka, may the light of God shine on you and lift you up. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God grant you the greatest gift of all, peace. Mazel Tov.
Please remain standing as we turn to page 28 for the Baruch Hu, the English words of which are in your order of service. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da. Baruch Hu et Adonai
You can be seated.
As a young Jewish adult in this time, I think I can speak for all of us when I say it's been a stressful time to be a Jew. In an excerpt from Yossi Klein Halevi, he says, "One must be careful to not become tainted by the evil you are fighting for both practical and spiritual reasons. To me, this means that during this war, it may be hard to keep the vision of being the good guy when fighting against immoral opponents. At this time especially, it can be hard to feel like the good guy in a world where people have so many different opinions and so much hatred. Even in places like school, it seems like a lot of the world is against our beliefs. It is very important for young Jews to maintain their core values in such a difficult time. When we look at the Israel-Hamas conflict, it is easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of suffering and seemingly insurmountable barriers to peace. But even in the midst of this darkness, there are glimmers of hope, moments of courage, resilience, and kindness that remind us of the power of individual actions to make a difference. Being the good guy means recognizing our shared humanity and working together to build a world where all people can live with dignity, freedom, and security. It means being willing to listen, learn, and grow, and to challenge all of our own assumptions and biases, and to strive for understanding and empathy in all of our interactions. In this time, being a mensch is very important. Being a mensch means recognizing compassion in every individual, even those in which we may very much disagree with. It means approaching conflict with empathy and understanding, seeking to fill the hole and not deepening it. In the face of hatred and violence, being a mensch means responding with love and tolerance, or standing up for what's right even when it's difficult. Especially in these hard times, it is important to come together as one community. Coming together during these times of struggle is important because it fosters a sense of solidarity and unity. When we join forces as a community, we can share our burdens, offer comfort to one another, and find solutions to our problems together. Together we are stronger, and by supporting each other through these difficult times, we can overcome challenges with resilience and unity. Additionally, coming together allows us to build meaningful connections and relationships, strengthening the bonds that hold our community together and providing a sense of belonging and support that is invaluable during these times of adversity. My Jewish community is very important to me at this time. And in particular, my confirmation class and I have spent tons of time talking, learning, and sharing our personal experiences, making me feel so much less alone in this crazy time. We shall not only uplift ourselves, but also inspire ourselves to do the same. Being the good guy isn't just about individual actions, but it's about fostering a culture of empathy and solidarity that can ripple outwards and create a positive change in the world. As we navigate the challenges of life, let us strive to be the light in a world of darkness, showing that even in the toughest times, goodness prevails. For the gift of physical and spiritual light in the world, we say on page 30, Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'orot. Thank you, God, creator of heavenly lights.
We are a community. Oh, thank you. We are a community, not simply a community of faith or Jewish people, but a community of humans. In the age of the Torah, a community was seen simply as a group of people living close to one another, united by lineage, faith, or cultural identity. Yet, as we all know, the world has changed over the last thousands of years. In fact, as humans, we have forced the world to change. In today's era, communities transcend the boundaries of simple villages. Now, communities encompass that of the world as a whole. Today, we are all neighbors to each other, connected in ways that echo the closeness of our ancestors in such small villages. As we grow closer, opinions and labels only grow stronger. At times, it can grow in strength that can only be seen as positive, bringing about light and prosperity. Yet, more often, a label brings discomfort and negativity. Throughout the history of the Jewish people, we have all been associated with labels, some born of kindness, but most of hatred. Since October 7th, as a community of Jewish people, we have all felt the pain that these labels have brought about. The weight of stereotypes, misconceptions, and prejudice has been held heavily on our shoulders. We have seen how these labels, born out of ignorance or malice, can warp the perceptions and poison relationships. With the growth of other strong emotions, I'm sure many of us can reflect on the feelings of resentment that we too have developed towards these original proprietors. Yet, as I believe, none of us wish to bring about malice on another. In general, as humans, our original desires bring hope into the world. However, these labels bring about the feeling of resentment that reside within us, sitting and waiting. We must be able to cure this resentment. If we cannot, we will live in a world where love is absent. The power of rebuke is one of our strongest virtues as humans. The ability to rebuke is the ability to let someone know that they have made a mistake and to forgive, releasing resentment. In Leviticus chapter 19, verses 17 through 18, we are reminded of the importance of rebuke as a gesture of love. You shall not hate your fellow in your heart. You shall rarely rebuke your neighbor and not bear sin because of them. You shall not take vengeance nor bear any grudge against your fellow citizens. Rather, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am God. From this passage, the final phrase is the most striking. Living in a new global community with our neighbors alive in places such as Israel or the Gaza Strip, we must find the will to rebuke those who have placed these labels due to hateful associations. However, they may hate and relate us to the mistakes, truth, or lies of others. We cannot fall into our own path of hate, as it will only worsen the world as we know it. In a world where we cannot rebuke, where we cannot impede on the actions of another, and forgive is a world where we cannot live in peace. If we can find it in our hearts to rebuke our neighbor, our fellow humans, and those who are too created in God's image, we will enter a world where peace can prosper. However, for us not to forgive and not to rebuke, we will go against the will of our ancestors. In Genesis chapter 9, verses 5 through 6, this ideal is furthered. One who sheds a person's blood, by human being shall their blood be shed. For in the divine image did God not make this human being. If we cannot rebuke, we actively contribute to a world of hate. From this hate is a world where war is constant, ultimately where blood is shed. By not forgiving, we contribute to the injury of other human beings, those who are too made in God's image. To not rebuke is to contribute to a world of hate. As a community of Jewish people and a community of the global human family, we are challenged to confront the complexities of labels and prejudices that sow resentment and malice. In an increasingly interconnected world, we must embrace the responsibility to rebuke, to release harmful stereotypes. Guided by the principles of love and forgiveness, we can truly inherit our scriptures. We can follow the image guided by humans before us, upholding the dignity of every individual. We can move towards a world of peace. As humans, we can fulfill our collective potential to a world founded on compassion and understanding. The first step needed is to rebuke as an act of love and respect. The first step is to talk about the ways we hurt each other and work to heal. Please join me on page 32. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael be'ahava. Thank you, God, for giving us the Torah and chances to learn from each other.
In today's world, I have seen many of my Jewish friends come together like never before. Since October 7th, I felt even closer to my Jewish community. Facing adversity together has strengthened our bond. However, our togetherness is not a coincidence. This sense of coming together to care for one another stems from an old Jewish teaching that came from Rabbi Hillel. He said, "If I am not for me, who will be for me? And if I am for myself alone, what am I? And if not now, then when?" This powerful and insightful look at life proves how this deep-rooted value of caring for your community strengthens us as a Jewish people. I firmly believe this is one of the most important parts of Judaism. This kind of caring for your family, friends, and peers is an integral part of a strong community. In simple terms, no one will be left out if an entire community comes together. The reliability of this community allows for a network of care where everyone is accounted for. Through this conflict, I have reconnected with several friends I had not seen in years. We've shared a connection that I would have never expected. It is natural for our Jewish community to come together in solidarity and stand for justice after events like those against Israel on October 7th. My first Jewish event after October 7th was a meeting with my youth group about the atrocities that had occurred. At that time, we didn't know how to verbalize our feelings. At this meeting, I met so many new Jewish people. One talked about how they felt completely alone. He had no one at his school who was Jewish and had very few Jewish friends. This had caused him to feel detached because he didn't have many people to talk to about the events of October 7th. The atmosphere in the room after that was remarkable. Many people said that they felt the same way. Others said that they now feel a greater connection to their Jewish friends. The truly great part of this meeting was how inclusive, welcoming, and relieving it was for this young Jewish kid and others to be with people who share their faith. I feel the second part of this quote, and if not now, then when, relates to this moment in time. How much longer are we as a community going to let the same story of Jews being oppressed carry on? You must take action in some way. And if not for yourself, do it for your family, your friends, your colleagues, your fellow students, and peers. Don't wait until it's too late to take action. The ability to come together as a community and care for each other is truly a superpower within our Jewish people. Our unity and unwavering support for each other has helped me and so many others become more connected to our faith through these difficult times. Let us join in Shema on page 34. Please rise.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
I'd like to invite up tomorrow morning's bat mitzvah, Sadie Markowitz, for Be'ahavta. Come on up, Sadie, don't be shy. Page 36. Yeah, you can. Page 36. And whenever you're ready. Be'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavacha ub'chol nafshecha ub'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshokbecha uvkumecha ukshartam le'ot al yodecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtabtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etem me'eretz Mitzrayim le'yot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem Emet. We continue on page 40 with Micha Mocha, our prayer for redemption. continue on page 43 with our blessing, one of our blessings for peace, Hashkivenu, praying to God that we are blessed with such a life that we can lie down knowing that we are safe and rise up knowing that the day before us is safe for us to do the work that the world needs.
During these difficult and confusing times as a Jewish adult in a post-October 7th world, I find it is still important to focus on what we learned from our Judaism and our ethical values as Jews. While there isn't much we can do to change the situation in Israel, we can still try to change what we can around us. In the text from Midrash Bereshit Rabbah, Faith Expressed as Protest of the World as It Is, it explains how God tells Abram to leave his home and journey outside of his comfort zone. During his journey, he comes across a palace in flames, but no one is trying to put it out. He wonders if the palace lacks an owner, but then the owner looks out and says, "I am the owner of the palace." This prompts the thought, is it possible that the world lacks a ruler? Then God looks out and replies, "I am the ruler." In the passage, the Lord orders Abram to leave his home, the place he feels most comfortable, and discover the rest of the world. He did so, but not without his doubts. He was apprehensive but hopeful. Many of us feel this way in our day-to-day lives, especially when trying something new. Although it might seem difficult or scary putting yourself in these new and unfamiliar situations, this is how we grow. If Abraham decided to stay, it would have never led to the establishment of the Jewish people. Making mistakes is how we learn and develop into our best selves. On the other hand, leaving your comfort zone may cause you to face realities of the world that might be hard to take in, just like when Abraham found the palace on fire. This discovery was at first hard for him to take in, but then made him discover one of the most important values in Judaism. In the passage, no one, not even the owner, is trying to put out the fire. He isn't trying to get out either. It's as if instead of abandoning his palace, he is asking for help. Abraham soon understands that this is a metaphor for the world. God created the world, God created the palace, man set it on fire, and man can put it out. Although Abraham or we might feel confused on why it seems like God has abandoned the world when all these bad things continue to happen, like the events on October 7th and those since, it is important to understand that it is our job as Jews to help extinguish those fires in the fight for the greater good. In my experience as a Jewish young adult coming of age in a post-October 7th world, this text helps me become more thoughtful in my Judaism because it has It has made me more mindful of my actions and has given me a positive outlook on life's challenges. I now understand that there may be times when I'm reluctant to do something, either because it's scary or unfamiliar, but it's experiences like these that foster new discoveries and growth. And every now and then we might be faced with a mess that we did not cause, but it is our responsibility to do what we can to fix it. Because in the end, we are all living together and rely on each other. A good example of this in your day-to-day lives is doing the dishes at home, or cleaning up a mess. Even though you didn't make the dishes, it is your responsibility as a member of your family and your community to help clean it up. By putting out little fires around us, we end up preventing big fires. In conclusion, as a Jewish community, we should always remember that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that it is our responsibility to do our best to extinguish all fires around us.
Navigating the world as a young Jewish person can feel like a roller coaster, especially with the current rise in anti-Semitism. In the words of Dana Horn, one problem with using the Holocaust as a morality play is exactly its appeal. It flatters everyone. We can all congratulate ourselves for not committing mass murder. Its approach excuses current anti-Semitism by defining anti-Semitism as genocide in the past. When anti-Semitism is reduced to the Holocaust, anything short of murdering 6 million Jews, like say ramming someone with a shopping cart or taunting kids at school, or shooting up a Jewish nonprofit, or hounding Jews out of entire countries, seems like minor in comparison. People throw around anti-Semitic hate speech like it's no big deal, thinking as long as they're not killing anyone, it's all good. Especially difficult is watching and hearing firsthand people casually say something anti-Semitic without even a second thought. Like Dana said, most people do not even consider the impact of what they are saying and how it is actually anti-Semitic because in their mind, they are not physically hurting someone. I feel as if many people have forgotten or don't care that their words have meaning and that their casual use of anti-Semitic rhetoric is actually hurting the people around them just as much or worse than the impact of simply physically hurting them. Many people associate being Jewish with being Israeli and feel threatened by that because of what they see in the news. These same people will also only listen to one source and surround themselves with other people living in the same ignorance. It has become increasingly terrifying to be Jewish in public because it feels as if at any given moment my life is threatened due to others' ignorance and prejudice. Since October 7th, I've noticed a dramatic increase of anti-Semitism both personally and from afar. People say anti-Semitic things under the disguise of protesting for what they believe is right and see nothing wrong with it. This poses a danger to society by normalizing anti-Semitism as advocacy instead of hate speech. People have also continued to equate all Jews as Israelis and deny the fact that not all Jews are Israeli. People's continued ignorance poses a threat to Jews globally. Just in the last 2 weeks, I have encountered, witnessed, and heard about anti-Semitism from my peers around me. Someone has said, well, that's not anti-Semitic, while discussing a pro-Palestine poster about Israel's war against Hamas. People have felt this new sense of entitlement of being able to say that this is not anti-Semitic and this one is, but what gives them the right if they do not feel it personally as a Jew? People have chosen to believe what they want and ignore what does not fit their narrative of the Israel-Hamas war. Hamas has managed to gain the world's sympathy and has felt like they have turned the world against not only Israelis, but all Jews as well. These tactics continue to influence anti-Semitic attacks verbally and physically all around the world. While being Jewish in today's world is scary, there are still so many parts of Judaism I embrace and appreciate. I'm so grateful that it is safe for me to help out at my synagogue weekly and continue to attend Jewish events outside of New Orleans. I'm thankful for being able to continue to celebrate Jewish holidays with my friends and to share my religion with my friends. I continue to be grateful for the Jewish community around me and value the acceptance that comes with them. I'm thankful for the Jewish values that I've learned growing up that have shaped me into who I am today, like kindness, respect, and lots of wisdom from all of my teachers and clergy. I've also made valuable friendships with me throughout religious and Hebrew school. These friendships have supported me throughout the years, and I do not know where I would be without them. Judaism has also brought many opportunities to me that I would not have got otherwise, like going to DC. Being able to go to DC with the synagogue and attend a uniquely Jewish program was an incredible experience. I was able to combine my religion with my love of advocacy and be able to go to Capitol Hill and go inside to speak to my representatives. This empowering experience showed me what it is like to work on Capitol Hill and show that my voice is powerful no matter my age nor my religion. It is hard to forget all the wonders Judaism offers living in a world that is, in my opinion, against Jews.
an affirmation of our strength and resilience as a community.
And as a historical people dating all the way back to Abraham and Sarah,
We join in our Amidah on pages 46 and following. Please join us.
Adonai sefer tifta ufia gitet hilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora Elohei Gomel Chasakim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Kasei Avot B'Imahot Maybe Gilma Livnei B'neihem L'man Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'Hoshia Morid Ha'atal Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Ve'rofeh Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech Meimit Umechayeh Umatmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman Atah Lechayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yehallelu Selah Baruch atah Adonai Kadosh. You may be seated.
October 7th marked a new age of anti-Semitism and the beginning of my responsibility as a young Jewish adult. The world said never again, so why are we facing identical anti-Semitism and violent hate that we experienced during the Holocaust? Before October 7th, the phrase never again meant two different things, both of which I understood with clarity. As we discussed in confirmation class, we as a Jewish community vowed to never again let hate dictate the existence of our people. At the same time, we promised to never again stand by while other minority groups suffer. My distinct interpretation of this idea ended 216 days ago when Hamas attacked Israel and rekindled the global flame of anti-Semitism. Before, I never needed to debate between the two interpretations of never again, because I simply understood both. But now, I wrestle to understand how I prioritize the importance of these values in relation to today's circumstances. Similarly, until 6 months ago, I never had to fear for the safety of my family or my camp friends, but the phrase never again is no longer true. How has the world once again allowed something so horrific to happen? The events that occurred in Israel forced me to contemplate how I balance standing up for myself and my Jewish community while also protecting the innocent lives of the people in Gaza. I struggled to protect the validity of both of the applications of the phrase never again. I think I can speak for everyone when I say the events of October 7th put me in a position where I need to choose between my people and humanity. At the same time, Hamas puts Israel in a position that forces them to endanger innocent people in order to protect the lives of our Jewish community. In confirmation class, we discussed the Jewish ethics of what we owe to others, meaning to what do we owe humanity as a whole versus our family individually. The events that occurred in Israel months ago made me realize that at times like these, balancing the lives of multiple groups of people proves to be extremely difficult. To expand on this idea, we discussed two different types of Jewish ethics. Covenant ethics teaches us that we owe a higher duty to our covenant, our family and friends. This resonates with me as an individual because the value of family dictates my actions and decisions as I grow into a Jewish adult. However, the story of creation describes that we are all made in God's image. Therefore, this means that we owe all humanity kindness and respect. However, war always challenges covenant and creation ethics. The idea of respecting both ethical perspectives used to come so easily to me, but now the importance of never again for our community has changed my ability to equally value my duty to my people in comparison to my responsibility to protect all those who suffer. Since October 7th, my relationship to the Jewish community has strengthened, and the covenant ethics that we studied in confirmation class have an even greater application to my life. I am not the same Jewish adult as I was before October 7th. I put on my Star of David necklace and have not taken it off since. To me, my star represents my responsibility to my covenant in a time when we need to prioritize the interpretation of the phrase never again as it relates to our community. I feel more connected to my identity as a young Jew than ever before because I finally realize and embody the meaning of the term Israel, one who wrestles with God. After October 7th, I wrestle with the two meanings of the phrase never again, as it applies to the protection of our community and to all those who suffer. Previously, I balanced the two meanings of the phrase never again, but now I have a greater motivation to stand up for myself and the Jewish community as my duty to my covenant is especially relevant. This does not mean that I have less responsibility to care for all people, but rather I have strengthened my passion and my commitment to my Jewish identity. Therefore, I wear my Star of David to remind myself of my family and my embodiment of covenant ethics, as it is now of the utmost importance that our community looks out for each other. We pause now for a moment of silent prayer as we consider how we can shape our lives to work towards coexistence and peace within and without.
יהיו לרצון עם רפי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני
From the story of creation, we learn that we owe a duty to each and every human being, never to murder and to extend a hand in care when they are needed. This idea is not only applicable to special situations, such as current events in Israel or historical Jewish events, but it is also applicable in everyday life in many situations. Whether through addressing and talking about principles from Genesis, community involvement and community service, or through calling for change for many important ideas, I try to keep in mind how actions can affect not just me, but also my community. As I participate in these activities, I am reminded of the profound impact that one person's actions can have on the broader community. As a Jewish teen coming of age after the events of October 7th, this idea of helping your neighbor is apparent, as many people have close ties to those directly affected by the brutal attack. This attack, which resulted in loss of life, trauma, and also a war, reminds us of the fragile nature and importance of human life, an important teaching of Genesis. These principles from Genesis to honor every person and to treat life with importance are especially relevant in the wake of the October 7th attack by Hamas. As in Genesis, and God created the human being in God's own image. In the image of God did God create it, male and female created God them. These principles remind me of my obligation to see every human being as created in God's image, emphasizing the responsibility we have to respect all life. In conjunction with respecting and caring for other people's lives, A big part of my life trying to address those issues is through community service and involvement. Through my role as the programming chair for Tasty, Touro and Sinai's youth group, I have both planned and participated in community service events. Such events include making to-go bags for the homeless and less fortunate, caring for the earth, or participating in food drives for nonprofits such as Second Harvest. These ideas teach me to value every life equally and care for those who aren't as fortunate. This idea of community involvement stems from Genesis in order to fulfill the commandment of caring for others. Extending a hand to those in need through acts of community service fulfills this commandment for not just me, but other Jewish teens my age. Another important experience for me was the Litzaken event in Washington, D.C., in which a group of teens from Touro and Sinai participated in. This event taught me to advocate for the right causes and how promoting important causes, such as how to deal with anti-Semitism, gun violence, and others, can cause change. Gun violence particularly addresses the issues brought up in Genesis through addressing murder and harmful acts. One who sheds a person's blood, by human being shall their blood be shed, for in the divine image did God make the human being. Calling for change can directly address social issues that plague our society, and through this program, I have learned how to advocate for the issues that directly impact not just my community, but also broader society. Reflecting on this past year, the importance of helping one another within our Jewish community is bigger than ever, especially following October 7th. In our confirmation classes, we have talked about the importance of support for one another, relating modern ideas to those found in Genesis and other Jewish texts. As a Jewish teen, I try to follow this message coming out of Genesis through participation in community service projects, community involvement, and providing everyday support to those around me. We now pray for those who are ill or hurting in our community and beyond. May God send them a renewal of body and spirit. Please join in the Misha Berach, page 253.
Dedicate this moment to those who are ill. Please draw them to mind, names, and faces. And we'll pause in this prayer to allow you to whisper them if you wish. Mishaberach Avotenu ve'imotenu Avraham Yitzchak ve'Yaakov Sar Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech ad hacholim shelanu. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. And we name them to ourselves now. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say together, Amen. A well-known passage from the Talmud states the following. Rabbi Elazar said that Rabbi Hanina said, Torah scholars increase peace in the world, as it is said, and your children, your banaich, shall be taught of God, and great shall be the peace of your children. Do not read your children, banaich, but rather your builders, bonaich. It's one of my favorite texts, and I apply it to confirmation every year. This play on words that the rabbis are doing relies on the nearly identical Hebrew spellings of two Hebrew words, banaich, your children, and bonaich, your builders. Our ancient rabbis taught through this play on words that our young people who engage in Torah learning shall have peace and they shall bring peace, and that actually our children would one day become our builders, the ones who build and sustain the community we care so much about. And we as a Jewish community have always believed that and lived it, especially in light of the many tragic losses and traumas we've sustained over the centuries. We have always believed that our children are the key and the inspiration and the reason for building a better future, that each individual person and each generation will bring their own Torah to the composite wisdom of our people. Confirmands of 2024, every person here, as I look out at our congregation of hundreds tonight, every person here wishes that we could give you a different world, an easier world, a more compassionate and loving world, and God knows, a more peaceful world. As you awaken to the world around you, as you have done this year, you have been forced to witness unspeakable cruelty, brutal war, political polarization and extremism, and a dramatic increase in the prevalence of anti-Semitic language and conspiracy theories, the oversimplification and even erasure of our history, and the rise of impalpable fear of many Jews about where we are safe in our bodies, in our buildings, and even recognizably Jewish on the street. We have talked, you and I, about this all year, trying to grapple openly with all of its complexity when we've been together. It has been intense at times, and I have appreciated the trust that you've placed in me and in your synagogue home, spending your precious time here or at one of your wonderful homes where you hosted us, sharing of yourselves. At the same time, as all this intense grappling, your respect and affection and care for each other and for your Jewish community has never wavered, and I know everyone here can feel it tonight, the way that you care for each other. You have modeled a Jewish commitment to cling to joy and to life and hope, even when there's a great deal of darkness, and I have loved that about you, even when I sometimes maybe had to ask 2 or 3 times for your attention to return to the text at hand. The world that you are entering as young Jewish adults is one that is starved for the nourishment that comes from understanding and nuance and patience and listening and empathy. Truly, we are parched for these life-giving human offerings. We are parched. We all wish that there would be a flood, a heavy rain shower of healing that awakens the hearts of everyone, all the hurt and fearful people who feel so far from each other, whether in Israel and in Gaza, or on college campuses, or here in New Orleans, even in your schools and families. Would that we could experience a torrential downpour of generosity and commitment to each other's humanity. But our current problems are so complex and our alienation from each other so severe that this cannot be a time of downpour. On the Hebrew calendar, as you may know, we acknowledge that during some seasons during the year, the most that we can hope for is something smaller and more delicate that nourishes. In the summer months in Israel, liturgy changes for Jews across the entire world, and we do not pray anymore for rain, but instead we give thanks for dew that sustains nature in a dry season. And that is my advice, if I may, and my prayer for each one of you. Please give thanks for the dew, for the little moments of hope that you experience with friends, with family, and when you make a connection with someone that you thought was so far away from you, when you feel a burning pride about who you are and who we are. Please do not be afraid to share and bridge across difference, even one person at a time, a little dewdrop of hope. Don't be afraid to listen to someone else's story and offer your own. It won't change the world immediately like a gargantuan flood, but it will keep your hope alive, like dew sustains a blade of grass. It is the wisdom of our tradition which teaches that in some seasons, dew is what we must rely on, what we need, and what helps us know that Gamze Ya'avor, this season too, shall pass. The next chapter after this one will be deeply affected by the way you, each of you, show up in the world with pride, with empathy, with curiosity, and with passion. So seek the dew and be it as well. With this confirmation ceremony, you each now take your place in the generations of our congregation, offering yourself as an instrument of Tikkun Olam in all the ways our world needs that healing. Your parents, your families have so much to be proud of, and I can see it on their faces, and you have so much to be grateful for as they do the everyday work of loving you and making your confirmation dinner special, as we'll see in a few moments, and reminding you to write your confirmation speech maybe, and the lifetime work that they do of teaching you who you might want to become and loving whomever it is that you become. I will now call each of the names of you, our confirmands, and with pleasure, Rabbi Silverman will give each of you a certificate of confirmation and a book by Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, whose words we studied together this year, each of them with a book plate with your Hebrew names. Please come forward to receive those gifts as you hear your name called, and then you can return and stand in your place. If you are a parent of one of our confirmands, please rise in your seat as well. And please rise. Our parents. And look at your confirmand. And confirmands, please rise as well and find your family with your eyes. Sydney Altmont. Where are you, Sid? Lily Arjamon. Billy Bronig. Max Denson. Katie Gershanik. Thomas Gershanik. Henry Haber. Elena Klingsberg. Lily Pollock. Simone Promoslavsky. Tyler Ruth. Jessica Toronto. Mazel tov to each of you for all of the amazing work that you did and the journey that you have persistently been on. I'll invite you can place your gift bags on your seats so your hands are free for the next part. Parents who are standing, I'd like to ask each of you here to read together the parents' prayer, which is both in the order of service and also in the booklet on the second, third page, on the third page. These words express perhaps some of what we are all feeling, and we honor each of you who has made it possible for these builders to stand before us. So please, students, look at your parents as your parents read these words for you. It is hard to put into words. I'd like to now invite the congregation to rise and join our confirmation families as the ark is opened by Rabbi Silverman and as the confirmation class of 2024 passes our Sefer Torah, our Torah scroll, from one to the next, each with your own prayer as you hold it, symbolic of the commitment that they express today as a class and as individuals. If you'd like to sing along, those words are underneath the parent prayer on that third page or in your order of service that I know are on everyone's heart today. We are gifts, we are blessings, we are history in song. We are hope, we are healing, we are learning to be strong. We are words, we are stories, we are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'dor vador nagid God lecha, Door by door we protect this chain, from generation to generation. Door by door these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our hearts, from the shadow of the mountains to the waters that would part. We are blessed, we are holy, we are children of your way. And the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. Lidor vador nagid God lecha. Lidor vador we protect this chain, from generation to generation. Lidor vador these lips will praise your name. Lidor vador these lips will praise your name.
You can be seated. It's our custom in these days between Passover and Shavuot to count the days of the Omer, this period of time between the two holidays. We continue on page 278 with that blessing. Hineni muchan umzuman l'kayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat haomer. Behold, here I am, ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Hayom shava esrei yom shehem shtei shavuot v'shalosh yamim laomer. Today is the 17th day of the Omer, which is 2 weeks and 3 days of the Omer.
When I used to complain about going to Sunday school, as Jewish children are prone to do, I would tell my mom I didn't even believe in God, so there was no point in going. In response, she would tell me 2 things. The first was, Judaism is not just a religion, it's a people. And the second was, you don't have to interpret the Torah literally, think about it like moral guidelines. These ideas pair nicely with Talmud Bava Metzia 71a, Covenant Ethics Ode to Our Own People. I have never been more conflicted on what is morally correct than I am right now. Obviously, what happened on October 7th was a tragedy. We mourn for every Israeli who was kidnapped or murdered. What Hamas did was unforgivable. But Hamas are not the only people who are paying. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have died, regardless of who they supported. People can disagree over who is to blame, whether it is Hamas for initiating the attack, or Israel for firing the missiles, or 100 other things. But the dead are still dead. And if the Torah teaches ethics and what is moral, how can we condone this? According to covenant ethics, a person in your group is worth more than someone who's not. But I have never met these people. I don't know what they dream of at night, who they look forward to seeing in the morning. I don't know who they love, who they hate, so why should one be worth more than any other? If all people are created in God's image, do I not owe my help to all of them? I genuinely don't know the answer to this question. I know that I want Israel to exist and be proud for what it means to Jewish people everywhere. But I also know I don't want people to feel oppressed, be they Palestinian or anyone else. I know that what I really want, deep down, is for the world to get along, for everyone to coexist peacefully and happily. I want people to stop dying. I want the war to end. As I've grown up, I find myself trying more and more to be a kind person. And one thing I've noticed is that helping people never feels bad. It does not matter if you know the person or if you don't, if you eat dinner with them every night or see them once a week. Rarely, if ever, does helping someone truly hurt you. And so I wonder, why can't the whole world be a covenant? Why can't we all help each other? If everyone treated everyone like family, no one would be without help. Alas, people like to draw lines to make themselves feel important. It's easy to look judgmentally at the past to decide what should and what shouldn't have been done. It's harder to gauge things in the present to decide right now what could have consequences for years to come. What I know I will not regret is making decisions based on what is morally correct, at least to me. My Jewish ethics have shown me why it is important to really think before you come to important decisions, and I am sure they will guide the choices I make in the future.
Our concluding blessing of Aleinu L'Shabeach can be found on page 282 at the bottom of the page. Please rise. Aleinu L'Shabeach Ladon Hakol Latet Gedula Liotzer Breshit Shelo Asanu Kegoye Ha'aratzot Velo Samanu Kemishpechot Ha'adama
Shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vigor aleinu kecho hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, ha'akadosh baruch hu, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo,
It's been 215 days since October 7th. 215 days of anger, of accusation, of fear, of worry. It's been 215 days since over 133 hostages still remain in the hands of Hamas. 215 days of unwanted and unnecessary deaths. 215 days of suffering, of our people suffering, our brothers and sisters, our aunts and uncles, our cousins, etc. Today marks 215 days since October 7th. And since then, it has become our duty as Jewish individuals and communities to become stronger, prouder. With the rise of anti-Semitism, it is crucial for us to come together and fight back, whether that be demonstrating our Jewishness by protesting or maybe wearing a Star of David around our neck. Now is not the time to hide or back down. Now is the time to be prouder than ever. It is the time to recognize our strength as a people, recognize that in each and every generation there are those who rise up to destroy us. And what have we done? We've persevered. So it's our duty now to persevere. For the Jews who lived in the Roman Empire or the Byzantine Empire, or those who died during the Spanish Inquisition, who died at the hands of the Holocaust, those who fought for our right to have our own country in the land of Israel, and finally those killed by Hamas on October 7th, and those who still remain hostage. For them, we must remain strong, keep our heads up high, and be proud to be a Jew. Sadly, being a proud Jew can be difficult. For all we've ever been taught in school, in life, in almost anything, when it comes to being Jewish, is our struggle. All those miserable events I mentioned before, and so many more. Our history is filled with persecution, exile, death, because as I mentioned before, in each and every generation, there are those who rise up to destroy us. However, I refute this idea. We are more than that. We are an ancient and beautiful people, filled with history and teachings. This year in confirmation class, that really took an effect on me when we discussed the idea. We read an article written by Dara Horn, who presented a compelling argument. The author argues that when it comes to Jewish studies, students should learn everything we have given the world, not what it's taken from us. People should learn where values such as treat others like you want to be treated come from. They should learn who invented genes, or computer chips, or search engines, where I got all this information from. And if you haven't gotten it by now, they're all Jews. It is now more than ever our chance, our duty, our responsibility to not only be a proud Jew, to not only be proud of our culture, but to educate others on it, to teach the world what it means to be a Jew, what it means to have been persecuted our whole existence, but still remained a unified and culturally beautiful people. So anytime someone asks you what it is to be a Jew, educate them, not only in our unfortunate past, but also who we are and why despite that past we live to this day. Our thoughts now turn to those who have died, those who we've loved and lost through the natural course of life, and those of our people and all of humanity who have died due to violence stemming from hate. We honor all their memories by living our lives by standing up for what's right.
Page 294. It's our custom here at Touro Synagogue that if you hear a name with whom you're linked in family, in friendship, in love of any kind, that when you hear their name, you are welcome to rise so we can recognize you for just a moment before we all recite the blessing together. As a community, Touro Synagogue mourns and comforts the family of Gerard Ryan, who will be laid to rest after Shabbat. We observe this period of Shloshim, the first 30 days, following the deaths of Jack Herman, Sandy Zaki, Stephen David Weiner, and Robert Thomas Hintersteiner. And on this Shabbat, we recall those who died at this time in years past. Jenny A. Bennett, Gulnair Levestein Bernstein, Maurice Blumenfeld, Teresa Bowers, Dr. Alvin Cohen, Meyer Mike Davis, Samuel Edelstein, Justin Reed Aaronworth, Bernice Finkelstein, Joseph Frank, Marcos Gershanik, Estelle Friedman Jervis, Dr. Abe Golden, Katie Metters Goldstein, Barbara Goodman Klein, Ira Maurice Cohn, Kate Friedlander Koppel, Joellen Levy Kupperman, Carol Levy, Mrs. Beryl Elenick Marquise, Sarah Mayers, Julian Opatowski, Helen Silverson, Herbert Silverson, Goldie Phillipson Stoyer, Barbara Borinsky Stiles, and Lucian Zilberman. As my eyes and my hand come around the room, if there are any other names that you would like to say out loud or hold in your heart, we invite you to do so. Zichronam livracha, may each and every one of their memories always be a blessing. Page 294, we rise and recite together as a community. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivarach La'alam Ulamei Almaya. Yit Barach V'yishtabach V'yit Pa'ar V'yit Romam V'yit Naseh V'yit Hadar V'yit Alev V'yit Halal Shmei Dekudisha B'rechu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tush Bechata V'nechemata Da'miran Be'alma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and for all of Israel, to which we say, amen. You can be seated. It's our pleasure to share the bima and to invite up for some announcements our Congregational Vice President, Kevin Wilkins. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, y'all. It's great to see everyone here tonight. So how impressive is the confirmation class of 2024? More about you in a moment. Thank you so much for the Markowitz family. Congratulations. We can't wait till tomorrow. Thank you for kindling the Shabbat lights this evening. Thank you very much to Sarah, to Chris, and to Bill for welcoming us in on this kind of summerish day into this beautiful sanctuary. Thank you to the Shabbat Pulpit Flower sponsors, in honor of the confirmation class from your parents, in honor of the Bat Mitzvah of Sadie Markowitz from your parents, in memory of Marcus Gershanik, and in honor of the confirmation of Catherine and Thomas Gershanik by Anna and Juan Gershanik. Congratulations. In loving memory of Carol Levy Creighton by Robin Levy, Bobby Guerin, and Ann Levy. Thank you to our Shabbat live stream sponsors in memory of Kate Friedler-Kappel by Janet and Renee Kappel and family. Congratulations to Russell on your graduation. That's so exciting, major milestone. Shabbat morning begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Torah study in the Forgotten Chapel. The bat mitzvah of Sadie Moon Markowitz will begin at 10:30 in the main sanctuary. Mazel tov. We are really looking forward to it. Touro Synagogue is so proud of our young people. And as Rabbi said, they are the future. They are the future of the synagogue. Confirmation is such a long and important tradition here at Touro. And this class of 12 remarkable young people is now joining the chain of tradition. 137th. This is the 137th confirmation moment for Touro Synagogue. That just shows the history that you are all part of. And you're setting an example for so many of you who are going to be coming behind you. On behalf of the board and the congregation, mazel tov to each of you and to your families. The presence and engagement make us so proud. We also want to thank the confirmation parents, led by Jenny Pollack and Maureen Gershanik, for the special touches at the Shabbat dinner, which is going to be really, really fun. If you have Jewish teens in your home or in your life, please make sure that they know about this really important national survey that's being sponsored by Stanford University and the Jewish Federation of North America. It's completely anonymous, and it's about the well-being and mental health, and it's just such an important topic, and they really want to capture as much feedback as possible. It's completely anonymous. It takes less than 10 minutes. It's around 20 questions. You can access the service and the additional information about it in the QR code that's in tonight's order of service. And you can, and we'll be sharing it in our congregational communications throughout the duration. So we really do encourage all teens that are in your life to participate in this survey. All are welcome to join us in the Grant Meyer Pavilion and Jacobs Social Hall for Shabbat dinner. Tonight's Shabbat dinner has been generously given in honor of the confirmation class by your parents and in honor of Sadie Markowitz by your parents. Shabbat Shalom.
We send our love and care to Cantor Margolius, who couldn't be with us tonight as he had a death in his family, and he'll be back after the weekend, but he wishes he could be here to celebrate with all of you. And I want to give a huge thank you also to Aaron Rothko, our Hebrew music educator and bassist extraordinaire, and Teo Hammer, last year's confirmation class graduate, an amazing musician and teacher, for all that you gave to our service tonight. I'd like to invite everyone to please rise as we sing our confirmation class out of the sanctuary and join together in the Grant Meyer Garden Pavilion for a delicious Shabbat dinner. We'll do a motzi up here real quick, and then we'll sing them out. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'siman tov ye'elanu. Siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov mazel tov u'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov mazel tov u'siman tov ye'elanu. Ye'elanu, Ye'elanu, u'lecho Yisrael. Ye'elanu, Ye'elanu, u'lecho Yisrael. Ye'elanu, Ye'elanu, u'lecho Yisrael. Ye'elanu, Ye'elanu, u'lecho Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah.